Hello guys, welcome back to Gospel News where they give you ogbonge information and as it take they go. They say that the president of Nigeria now, as they talk to will be President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been indicted by the European Union mission as a rigger of our time. I remember that this 2023 presidential election has been ranked as the worst election in the history of Nigeria because the rigging was so open that there was no fear. Even INEC announced the result to declare Tinubu the winner of the presidential election even before the results were all collected and transmitted to the IRF. Up to this moment, what they are claiming that they had glitches during the transmission of the results from polling unit have not been cleared. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody is giving us forensic evidence that this is what really happened. This man, what they call Okoye, the INEC electoral voters educator, be waiting. He could not even define or explain to Channels TV broadcaster why the results were not transmitted. He said he could not say whether it is a man-made error or computer-made error that stopped the result from being transmitted. So there is, in fact, you can't even defend fraud. This is so glaring that nobody can defend it. So the European Union has indicted Tinubu and said that, Oga, you are an rigger. But now Tinubu has come out to say, Loriro, that it is not true. We did not rig nothing. Tinubu rejects EU's mission's position on 2023 election, calls report jaundiced, poorly done, desk job. He say all these things now fraud. No be him be fraud, though, say na European Union na them be fraud. So with all these things, which means that even the outside world knows. But I want to also let you know that even this European Union and all these American and all these so-called intelligence agencies, they are also wayo people, they are also fake. They are very weak. And they also collect bribe. What am I talking about, you might be wondering? Look at the answers. It was CNN that brought us the video, the evidence that there was a heavy shooting at the scene where Nigerians were gathered at Lekki Toll Gate to protest against the police brutality and a better government, demanding for a better government. The CNN was the people who showed us what really transpired. Who has been held accountable? Nobody was sanctioned. Nobody was given a visa ban. Not even Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, or even Buhari, who was the president as at that time. Nobody collected any water. Neither the Nigerian army officials nor the police or Gakpatakwata them. So when we hear that EU has indicted Tinubu for fraud and election rigging in 2023, we no longer have hope in these white people who claim to be messiahs. We are now see them as fraudsters who are parading themselves in order to deceive the general public and make them have hope where there is no hope. So we have to fight for ourselves, because if you feel that these people are going to fight for you, then you are mistaken. Now, President Bola Tinubu has rejected the report of the European Union Election Observation Mission, EU-EOM, on the 2023 general election in Nigeria. The EU mission has stated that the presidential selection of the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, leaves the electoral body vulnerable to the perception of partiality. The mission asserted that the 2023 general elections did not ensure a well-run, transparent, and inclusive democratic process as assured by INEC. It explained that the public confidence and trust in INEC were severely damaged during the presidential poll and were not restored in the state-level elections, leading civil society to call for an independent audit of the entire process. It also decried the Nigerian police inaction, which fueled impunity during the 2023 general elections. The EU report said it was sad that in some cases, the police detained the journalist who documented irregularities, but not the attacker. The EU-EOM stated this in its final report on the 2023 general election, which was submitted to INEC on last Monday. According to the report, media workers were left vulnerable and prone to attacks while the security agencies watch or even collaborate with attackers, hoodlums, to a development they said was despicable. Is it not what we have been saying, that the Nigerian police have been aiding illegalities, while the Nigerian army is the chief aider of Fulani criminal terrorists in the country? So this security forces that has been given to Nigeria is not living up to expectation. Rather, they are working with the killers of the citizens of this country. However, a statement issued by Dele Alake, Special Advisor to the President's Special Duties, Communications and Strategy, on Sunday, described the EU's mission's position as unfounded and biased. It said, sometime in May, we alerted the nation through a press statement to the plan by the Continental Multilateral Institution to discredit the 2023 general elections conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The main target was the presidential election, clearly and fairly won by the then candidate of All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu. But we've seen American this thing, what did they call him? Is it the ambassador, this Anthony Blinken, where he has been running up and down and romancing with President Tinubu, even though he has a drug case in their country, USA. It is a shame to these people who have sold themselves for peanut, who does not have integrity anymore. Before, when we were small, when we hear, people like the President of America, when we hear people, Anthony Blinken, people of their categories, we have hope. But today, when you hear such name, you know you have fraud. We have people who do not care about the lives of the masses and the citizens. What they want is just to, go and be getting their own gain, their pocketerial and territorial interest. They have no interest in justice. They have no interest in fairness. They have no interest in equity. That's why these countries have remained like this, and they have been using our crooked leaders, thieves, criminals, to loot our resources to their own countries to make white people better, while our own foolish governors and presidents have been, subjected to mumu or de only, doing all sorts of rubbish, doing boy, building all their investment abroad. You will never see them. Just the same way Igbo people are building most of their investment, building estates in Abuja, building estates in Lagos. Meanwhile, we have nothing in the southeast. That is the foolishness of some of our people from Nigeria. Their own foolishness has no comparison, which is despicable and a shame to national, how will I put it? Just manage it like that. According to this information we have at hand here, while we did not mention the name of the organization in the said statement, we made it abundantly clear to Nigerians how this foreign institution had been unrelenting in its assault on the credibility of the electoral process, the sovereignty of our country, and on our ability as a people to organize ourselves. They organize on ourselves in a fraudulent way to defraud others. We find it posterious and unconscionable that in this day and age, any foreign organization of whatever hue can continue to insist on its own yardstick and assessment as the only way to determine the credibility and transparency of our elections. Now that the organization has submitted what it claimed to be its final report on the elections, we can now categorically let Nigerians and the entire world know that we are not unaware of the machinations of the European Union to sustain its largely unfounded bias and claims on the election outcomes. So it is a very big shame to this European Union that despite knowing all these atrocities committed against the indigents, they will still not sanction those criminals, they will still not sanction those fraudsters, they will still not sanction those riggers. Rather, they will still collaborate with them. So these European Union people, you people should be ashamed of yourselves, because you guys are not living up to expectation. In fact, before we continue, let us play you this video. Muna use on our hand, on our eyes, take Kirila in Hemereba, and what the analysis Arise TV gave concerning this.
The federal government has rejected the European Union's final report on the 2023 general elections, denouncing it as a poorly done desk job. In a statement, the President's special advisor, Dele Alake, accuses the EU of bias and unfounded claims. He stresses that the elections, especially the presidential election won by Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, were credible, peaceful, and well organized. The EU mission presented its report on the general election on Tuesday, citing what it called enduring systemic weaknesses in the polls. It also identified 6 key areas for improvement in Nigeria's electoral processes. The federal government's reaction is in response to the report submitted last week by the European Union Election Observation Mission on Nigeria's 2023 elections. The report raised concerns over the violence recorded across the country, low participation of women and people with disabilities. Arise correspondent Punarimam Benjamin was at the event.
Though it's been more than 3 months after Nigeria's general elections, the challenges faced during the elections are yet to be resolved. The election petition courts are still sitting to address several issues raised by aggrieved parties who are challenging the outcome of the polls, while Nigerians are anxiously waiting at the federal and state levels for the outcome. The European Union says the general election was flawed with so many irregularities recorded, such as voter apathy, lack of punishment for electoral offenders, interferences by outsiders during the counting of votes, and the intimidation of voters.
So while the 25th February elections were held on schedule, a lack of transparency and operational failures reduced trust in the process and challenged the right to vote. Voters assigned to new polling units had difficulties in identifying their correct polling unit, and the conditions in almost half of polling units observed did not ensure the secrecy of the vote. In 16 states, the mission noted incidents of violent attacks on polling units and indeed on INEC staff and harassment of voters. The counting procedures were negatively impacted by overall poor understanding, particularly in completing forms, and chaotic and overcrowded conditions in collation centres observed.
Some of the recommendations by the European Observation Mission includes the protection of voters in future elections, establishing a robust operational framework for elections, and addressing impunity through an electoral offences court. The Independent National Electoral Commission promises to consider all the recommendations as provided by the EU mission.
As far as we are concerned, we are going to present our report. We are going to make our submissions to the court. We are going to present what we know and what we did during the elections to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal and all the other election petition tribunals, and then they will make a determination on going forward. But as far as the Commission is concerned, there were so many positives to this election. There were also significant challenges and problems with the election. We are going to address those challenges and those problems.
The EU delegation also visited the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, and submitted a copy of its report to the Nigerian government. The SGF is calling for more support from the EU to promote Nigeria's democracy. Punaraman Benjamin, Arise News.
All right, una don hear am with una ears how this matter take the go. Say these people, after all this gbada now they'll go buy cold water, give them. That will be the last you will hear about this thing. Nigeria on its own side, they have said that they have many reasons to believe that the jaundiced report based on the views of fewer than 50 observers was to merely sustain the same premature denunciatory stance contained in EU's preliminary report released in March. We strongly reject in its entirety any notion any idea from any organization, group, or individual remotely suggesting that the 2023 election was fraudulent. That is what the Nigerian government in its own is saying. But on another update here, they say that EU report on 2023 presidential election confirms polls was massively rigged for Tinubu, says Labour Party. So these people have, confirmed it that there was so much fraud that went down during the election because the EU observers said there is no evidence that Nigeria police prosecuted electoral offenders arrested during 2023 polls. This is what they said. They said that the Nigerian police has followed backyard to release these people arrested during the election. Those people who were fighting, journalists fighting those who came to cast their vote. Instead of the police to prosecute them, they just took them away from the general public so that they will avoid beating. And then from the backyard, they ordered them release all those touts that were arrested, whom we have used to, rig the election. But this Tinubu now, who is telling us that there was no rigging, there was nothing, who is blasting the EU now, he's still there, begging them to help them in electoral. Tinubu government appeals for EU support to improve electoral processes, deepen democracy. Somebody who has rigged the election, look at that kind of statement. Konema and die, Konema and bury him. The Nigerian government has sought the support of the European Union in its quest to deepen, consolidate its democratic practices, particularly regarding its electoral processes. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, made the appeal while receiving a delegation from the European Union Election Observers Mission EUEOM, led by its chief observer, Barry Andrews, in his office. A statement from the office of the SDF said on Tuesday. So what am I talking about here? They are just doing these ones to cover up, but we know, we are aware of what this government is capable of doing. They are not sincere at all. They are not sincere at all. All they know is a fraud, rigging, and taking over what does not belong to them. Una dey here. So Mona drop comment and let us know what you know na they think. But Peter Obi still have hope that something positive is gonna happen. And we also praying for at least a fair and just case at the tribunal, but we still wonder whether Peter Obi can get justice in this court or this tribunal. Let us know through the comment section. I'll see you people on the next one. Stay blessed and see you on the next one. Ciao.